Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have a very, very serious show for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel here. As you guys know, Team USA just suffered a stunning loss, an upset to Lithuania. I believe they lost the game 110-104, right? Lithuania beat them. And it sent a shockwave all throughout the system, at least for the people that cared. People here and there all talking about it. I think they spoke about it today on ESPN. Just yesterday or the last 24 hours, Gilbert Arenas spoke about it. So there are a lot of people talking about it. But I think what's being missed in all of this is, how did we get here? No one is really taking the time to sit down and ask themselves the question of, how did we get here? How did we get here? The only person that I ever heard explain this thing of how we found ourselves at one point and how we got to this current point was the late, great Kobe Bryant. If you guys remember, Kobe Bryant had a pulse of what was happening in the United States and internationally as it pertained to the NBA. Kobe Bryant was one of the players that was actually slamming the AAU and how it was developing young players coming up into the American basketball system, preparing them for college and ultimately to head towards the NBA. And it's very simple. The moment you stop innovating, the moment you stop thinking of ways to be more efficient, to get better, you will suffer. And speaking of doing things efficiently, doing things in a more efficient way, this brings us to today's sponsor, Factor Meals, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. If you're like me or anybody that works at Dreamerspro, chances are you're a very, very busy person, especially during the lunchtime when you don't have time to go to the grocery store, pick out fresh ingredients, and come back home and cook healthy, delicious meals. Sometimes we're so busy that you just end up finding yourself making a ham sandwich or something like that, which isn't really ideal. And this is the reason why we are excited to be partnering with Factor Meals. Factor Meals is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. You can choose from up to 35 gourmet meals. Every meal is packed with premium ingredients, crafted by Factor Meals' team of culinary experts and designed by dietitians to ensure that every meal is packed with premium science-backed nutritional quality. Your meals are delivered directly to your door, and all you need to do is heat them up in just under 2 minutes. Then they are ready for you to eat and enjoy. So for example, this week, I think I'm gonna go with the Italian herb chicken. What I love is that under every single meal, you can see if it's a calorie conscious option. For example, this meal I just chose is the dietitian approved calorie smart meal, which is around 550 calories or less per serving, and also a protein plus meal with 30 grams of protein or more per serving. So if you want to give it a try, click the link in the description below or head over to factormeals.com/dreamers50 and use code dreamers50 to get 50% off. And remember, when you try Factor Meals by using the link in the description below, remember that you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So I want to continue on with the show. I spent a lot of time researching the things I want to discuss today. I want to quickly play an audio of Kobe Bryant expressing his absolute disgust with the AAU system and how he believes it was ruining NBA players. Take a listen to what Kobe Bryant had to say here.
Kobe, you've been pretty critical of the AAU system and the way American players are brought up.
Not pretty critical, I'm extremely critical. I hate it. Because it doesn't teach our players how to play the right way. How to think the game, how to play in combinations of threes. And I think everything is it's a reward system. I think coaches who are teaching the game are getting rewarded one fashion or another. And it's just a showcase.
Do you feel like
it's absolutely horrible for the game.
The young guys that are coming up, do you feel like the game is kind of stiff, whereas when your guys were more skilled?
Yeah, but I think that was just by luck in the generation that I grew up in. You know what I mean? Because like my generation is when the AU basketball really started becoming you know, and I got lucky because I grew up in Europe.
Right.
And, you know, everything there was still fundamental. So I learned all the basics. And I think we're doing a tremendous disservice to our young basketball players right now. And that's something that definitely needs to be fixed, and it's going to be one of the things that I definitely focus on.
So you heard what Kobe Bryant had to say. And to me, the sad part is this. Of all of the players talking or doing sports media right now, why are none of the NBA players discussing this? Why aren't they? If you listen to Gilbert Arenas, sometimes they have these arguments on the show. The last one they had was around international players, around that thing that Noah Lau said, and then it sparked a debate on the show with him, Brandon Jennings, Kenyon Martin, and Rashard McCann. Usually what I've noticed is that Brandon Jennings is the one that always sides with international players because he believes that they're that damn good. But if you listen to Gilbert Arenas talk, there seems to be this disrespect and this lack of like appreciation that Gilbert Arenas had. Like, them dudes ain't nothing. Them dudes ain't this. He was just calling out NBA players and mentioning all of these guys. And the way he would try to explain the way that success was, who would win in a one-on-one game? He's not discussing what's actually taking place in the NBA. He's talking about what could take place at Rucker Park or some open run in LA. He's not discussing what these guys are doing on the court, because if he does that, he'll lose the argument. So he now boils it down to hypotheticals. If this guy played against this guy, who would win? As if that's what's happening in reality. It's called a reach. So if you listen to Gilbert Arenas and these guys, you kind of realize how we got here. Because when you don't respect something, you don't pay any attention to it. And it catches you off guard. So what we want to do is, we want to play an audio of Kobe Bryant discussing the global game. We also want to play an audio of him talking about fundamentals and Kobe Bryant talking about the Olympics in terms of international competition. So take a listen to that there, and I'm going to come back and continue on with the show. Take a listen to that.
Well, it gave me the foundation. So I was very fortunate to have great coaches that taught me the game at the most fundamental level. So that means footwork, the importance of passing with your left hand as equally as you do with your right, moving off the ball, being able to set proper screens, how to defend properly off the ball and on the ball. So all the fundamentals, the basics. Like, we were lucky if we ever scrimmaged once in an entire week, because everything was just drills.
So that time was the first time for you to actually know about global basketball. Is that something like different than you thought? If you got to pick one word to describe the global basketball you first see, which word would you pick?
One word to describe global basketball?
At the age of 6.
At the age of 6, I would have said something like Magic, Michael, and Larry. That's how I would have described. Because to me, that's what the NBA was. I didn't know it. Like, I knew what Italian basketball was. I knew what European basketball was. I knew it like the back of my hand. The NBA was still kind of a mystery. You couldn't just turn on the TV and see an NBA game. That wasn't happening. So that was a much bigger mystery to me than, Italian basketball.
Well, let's talk about your national career. And actually, I think you were summoned by Team USA earlier in 2000, but it was like 7 years later when you first played the game representing Team USA. So how does it feel to finally put on that jersey and represent your own country?
It felt great to put on the jersey, because it means so much more than playing for your team.
When we lost in 2004, it was a heavy blow for us. This is a sport that we've dominated for years, and I think there's a lot of beauty in the fact that we lost, because it means that the game is growing so much, and there's so many countries out there that are playing at a high level. But at the same time, it was like, okay, all right, that's beautiful, but now we want it back. We want it back. And so 2008 was about that. It was about kind of reclaiming, what we feel we started.
So you heard what Kobe Bryant had to say there. But my research didn't stop there. I found an article on ESPN that was written back in January 3rd of 2015. And in this article, Kobe Bryant said in 2015, almost 8 years ago, that he believed that European players were more skillful. Let me get into this article. It says, Kobe Bryant believes European basketball players are more skillful than American basketball players and says it's a growing trend that can be blamed on the greed of coaching at the AAU level. I think that European players are just way more skillful, Bryant said Friday night after the Los Angeles Lakers 109-106 loss to the Memphis Grizzlies. They're just taught the game the right way at an early age. They're more skillful. It's something we really have to fix. We really have to address that. We have to teach our kids to play the right way. Bryant was quick to point a finger at the decline of skilled players in the United States. He then spoke about AAU. Bryant said, horrible, terrible AAU. It's stupid, and it doesn't teach our kids how to play the game the right way. The article then continues on. Bryant was born in Philadelphia, but when he was 6, his father, former NBA player Joe Bryant, moved the family to Italy to continue his playing career. Kobe spent his childhood in Europe until Joe retired in 1991 and moved the family back to the United States. When you have limitations and you understand your limitations and you stay within yourself, you can be great, Kobe Bryant said. You know what you can do and what you can't do. In America, it's a big problem for us because we're not teaching players how to play all around basketball. That's why you have Pau and Marc Gasol, and that's the reason why 90% of the Spurs roster is European players, because they have more skill. Bryant smiled when asked what type of player he would have become if his family never moved to Italy and hadn't learned how to play the game in Europe. Horrible. He says, I probably wouldn't be able to dribble with my left hand and shoot with my left hand and have good footwork, Bryant said. I was kind of fortunate because I was growing up in Italy. The Red Auerbachs, the Tex Winners, and all the great coaches were doing clinics and camps in Europe. They were teaching all the club coaches, and the club coaches were following their advice and their fundamentals like the Bible. And they were teaching all of us kids that type of stuff. Me, Manu, all of these guys that grew up around that same time were a product of that. It's a big difference. Bryant had a simple solution to the problem. Teach players the game at an early age and stop treating them like cash cows for everyone to profit off of, he said. That's how you do it. You have to teach them the game, give them instruction. But Bryant would hold his annual summer basketball camp and was quick to point out that any solution involving changing the current AAU basketball won't happen overnight. That's a deep well, because then you start cutting into people's pockets. Bryant said people get really upset when you start cutting into their pockets because all they do is try to profit off these poor kids. There's no quick answer. This made me think of a point while discussing Kobe. All I hear, oh my God, this is why you guys got to be careful who gives you your information. All I hear is that this era is the most skilled basketball players we've ever seen in our lives. This is the best basketball we've seen since sliced bread. These players are more skilled than ever before. Kobe Bryant had more skill in his one hand than the entire NBA. There's nobody I can point to in this NBA. Nobody that I could point to that was half as skilled as Kobe. Half as skilled as Kobe. Half. I'll take it a step further. Nobody talking basketball on TV or independently, their podcast, knows more about basketball than Kobe Bryant. Nobody. That goes for Stephen A. Smith. That goes for JJ Redick. That goes for whoever you want to bring. None of these dudes can carry that dude's water when it comes to basketball. And if you listen to Kobe speak, you will know that that was one very sharp guy that didn't even go to college. That did not even go to college. If anybody listens to Kobe Bryant speak, you will know that that's a very intelligent person. You will know this. You can surmise that quickly. I just find it interesting that we get bombarded with this message of, oh, this is the most skilled era. This is the most skilled. Well, if you listen to what Kobe's saying, he's saying that this era has no skill whatsoever, that they're limited fundamentally. And some people watching this video will say, how do you say Kobe Bryant's more skilled? Let me tell you what Kobe Bryant's more skilled at. Number one, name a perimeter defender right now playing in the NBA that can also score 30 points a game or lead the league in scoring, that could play defense and make an all-first defensive team. Name the guy. You have Giannis, but Giannis has a different skill set. Kobe could shoot, he could dribble, he could pass. His footwork, don't even discuss. And he was arguably a top 3 post player in the league. He was that damn good. There's any shot you can think of that dude can make it. I've seen him making turn around left-handed 3. I've seen it all from this dude. Anybody that knows basketball will tell you that for free. So if he's saying that, we got to now ask the question, what's going on with the messaging? What's going on with the messaging around this current NBA? Is it an agenda? Is it an agenda to propagate this message of, oh, these are the greatest players since sliced bread? But in reality, they're not. Let me close with this. I came across an article from fadeawayworld.net that pretty much summarizes how we got here. And it says, Karl Anthony Towns says, a lot of NBA fans think international players are plumbers and engineers. It continues on. Karl Anthony Towns believes a lot of NBA fans have no idea how good international players are. Towns has been playing for the Dominican Republic, at the 2023 FIBA World Cup, and he was asked if playing at that tournament would help him this season. He said, for sure. Got an early start to playing basketball, Towns said. We're playing the best in the world. I'm in the NBA, and I see NBA fans. They just don't know these players, so they think what I saw was plumbers and engineers. These are the best players in the entire world playing in one building in a tournament. Towns stated that some of the very best players in the NBA are now international. You may not know their names, but I guarantee you that many of them, if they stepped in the court with anybody, they can get the job done, Towns added. The game is international. Some of the best players now in the NBA are all international. Obviously, the world is bigger than just the United States. What Karl Anthony Towns just said is a fringe opinion, but he also said something that exposes the inverse, which is this. I think what he just said reflected a larger view that I think is perpetuated throughout the NBA, which is this lack of respect. Imagine not respecting the global players and not being as skilled as you think you are. You get a recipe for disaster. I think something needs to change. And Kobe Bryant spotted this years ago, and none of this surprised me. None of this. The guy's looking like a seer right now. These are my thoughts. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you think Kobe Bryant was right about his predictions about the international game catching up to the NBA game? And do you think that NBA players, if they don't figure this thing out, these international players are going to they're going to take a stranglehold on the entire league? And oh, by the way, the number 1 draft pick, where is he coming from? We catch you guys on the next show. Peace.